I just posted something with the former CEO of Pepsi that was like, balance is BS. And I think I would have told myself to give myself a little more grace and allow myself to invite the imperfections, and the balance is not going to be showing up most days. I think there's different seasons. There's seasons where you're going to be really all in as a mother, and there's seasons where you're going to be all in more as a business owner, and then there's days where you're going to be switching those roles. And so I have used the term zoom out quite a bit. You'll hear me say that in a lot of interviews I do, because I live that way. I live that way with nutrition. I live that way with wellness. I live that way with friendships and relationships and business and parenting. I zoom out. Am I doing a pretty good job? Like, what does the scale look like today? And some days I have to readjust. Some days I have to have an honest dialogue with myself and an honest conversation and say, you know what? I think you need to level up here, because if you're zooming out, you're kind of missing the mark in this area of your life, and you need to give a little more effort.
Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of the podcast. I'm delighted to be joined today with my guest, Andrea Lee Rogers. Andrea is a wellness entrepreneur, celebrity trainer, and the creator of the groundbreaking fitness sensation Extend Bar, a creative combination of traditional Pilates methods, ballet, and cardio, featured in Vogue with live appearances on NBC, ABC, and CNN networks. She's a popular thought leader in health and movement communities and a youth skincare advocate, and her online workouts have been viewed millions of times. Her lifelong love of movement started with a dedicated dance practice, leading to a career as a professional choreographer and dancer, most notably as principal dancer for Walt Disney World, before mastering Pilates as a comprehensive classical trainer. Andrea soon created her own innovative fusion of core dance and Pilates fundamentals, and encouraged by her clients' responses, in 2008 she launched Extend, that I mentioned above, with locations worldwide. She's also a motivational coach and co-founder of tween skincare brand Linny, as well as a mentor for Linny Leaders, a business training program created to empower young individuals. Her new book, Small Moves, Big Life, 7 Daily Practices to Supercharge Your Energy, Productivity, and Happiness in Just Minutes a Day, is available now. I'm looking forward to talking all things health and wellness in today's show. Andrea, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for that lovely introduction.
Would you believe I had to shorten it down, because that could have been considerably longer when we started
Great.
listing out the achievements.
Sorry about that, guys.
Andrea, I want to jump straight into the book, because my movement snacks is one of the languages that you use, and it's a version of like hacks that people can do throughout the day to bump their movement. Can you talk to us a little bit about that concept, and then some of your favorites? And we'll use that as a jumping off point, because your work is very practical for the everyday person that's busy, that is looking to just kind of get more movement in and just live a healthier lifestyle in general. So can you talk to us a little bit about movement snacks and some of your favorites?
Yes, absolutely. So, as you just said, I think everything that we focus on within Small Moves and Big Life has to be practical. It has to be sustainable. It has to be lasting transformation. And if you're doing a big, huge, major overhaul, including, trying to change your exercise routine from nothing to all, you're going to struggle to maintain that. So I have little tips and tricks that I use, and one of which is just reducing the excuses, right? Reducing the barriers to making exercise a part of your everyday life. And so one of those things is, let's just think about how we can sprinkle in movement into our everyday life, where there are opportunities in which we would otherwise be sitting idle. So I'd been doing this most of my life, and then it was when I had kids that they started to point out, like, Mom, can't you just brush your teeth without doing, exercise? And I'm like, well, I'm sitting here for 2 minutes. I might as well move my body. Or every morning when I'm making my matcha, I have 2 minutes and 35 seconds on the microwave to cook my almond milk, and I'm going to do something with those 2 minutes and 35 seconds. So I'll give you a few examples. For example, this morning when my matcha was cooking, I did some countertop push-ups, right? I did tricep dip push-ups or tricep push-ups facing forward. And let me tell you, after 2 minutes of 35 seconds of one solid move, my triceps were on fire. My entire upper body, my delts, like everything, my core was already engaged. And then I lifted up and I felt a different energy. I felt like I just did something that was good. I felt a little sense of pride. I felt the physical components of my abs just a little fired off, my posture and alignment. I drew my shoulders back and I went and started to make my matcha. And same goes throughout the day. So I will focus on, every time I brush my teeth, I've got 2 minutes on my tooth timer brush, right? And I will focus on doing something with those 2 minutes. So normally teeth brushing is a releve series where I lift my heels. It's just heel raises. And I focus on the right leg while I brush my teeth for a minute, and then the left leg while I brush my teeth for a minute. And I'm just utilizing that time and that effort. Or when I'm sitting down watching TV with the girls and we have a moment of commercials, we're moving, we plank. My girls and I plank or we do roll ups, a Pilates roll up, which is lying in a supine position, lifting the head, neck, and shoulders and reaching toward your toes, articulating the spine back down. I'm getting spinal flexibility, I'm getting hamstring flexibility, I'm getting core engagement. All of the things are happening, and it's a 1 minute thing. And I've become a person now who sprinkles these in throughout my day. And you would probably think, well, what is that going to do? But it adds up. And I'm telling you, not only do you feel it physically, but you feel it emotionally and mentally. And those are the little moments where you can find opportunity to just level up.
I love that. And I was going to add that compound effect of doing it consistently every day really adds up. But also what you mentioned there about the emotional and the physical being obviously the benefit from the physical side, but the emotional and mental, when you're moving your body like that, you're feeling better. And it tends to, and have you found that it spirals with, your food choices are better, your mood's a little bit better, your decision making abilities tend to be a little bit better because you're not in this low vibrational lack of movement state. Do you find that that's the way that it manifests in your own life?
Brian, you just nailed it. And I always say, this is my mantra: move your body, move your life.
Mm.
Move your body, move your life.
Out of curiosity, and we sing from the same hymn sheet, the small things adding up consistently. It's not about the big, this is my pet peeve in January, and you've seen this as someone that's been in the fitness industry even longer than I have. Everyone trying to make all the changes too soon, going from never going to the gym to going 7 days a week, twice a day, never eating a salad throughout the year, and then eating salad for breakfast, lunch, and dinner because it's January. And then all of a sudden,
Yes.
2 weeks in, they're like, I'm done.
Unsustainable.
Unsustainable completely. With the big changes, out of curiosity, was that from what you saw working with clients, or was that from a default personality type that you had and had to rewire over the years? Or how did you come to the end message where you're now feeding this back to people to make these small changes? Was that through first-hand experience or through second-hand experience working with people?
Both, but primarily firsthand. So I live a very busy life. I am a single mother. I live away from family, so I don't have that built-in tribe to help me. I run an international business and I have a million ideas that I'm always trying to bring to fruition. I'm like, let's do this. Let's start this new company. Let's do this. Let's do this. I'm just a natural founder mindset, so I'm always trying to create and do things. And I have to have some structure and balance in my life. And I know that I can't always have an all or nothing mentality. And so through the years of being an entrepreneur and doing the things I'm doing and trying to always wear more hats, I've discovered that I'm okay with not always getting in my full 50-minute workout every week or every day. I know that I zoom out and I say, okay, if I do that 3 days a week, that feels good for my body. But I have to move my body every day for me to feel good. So what can I do on those days that I can't move my body? Where it's a day like today, Brian, where I started at 6 a.m. and I'm not going to be done with my duties of mom and business owner until 6:30 straight. Like I'm back to back calls, everything's back to back today. There's not a moment of a break. And so what do? I do movement snacks. I make sure I'm moving my body. So I know that normally I try to get in at least a 10-minute workout, and I'll probably end my day with that today. But if I'm exhausted and I'm not feeling it, I know that at least 3 times today, I've done 2 or 3 minutes of movement to just do something today. And as you said, I feel so much better after. Yes, my endorphins are going, right? I'm getting that nice little rush, but I'm also feeling like, okay, you didn't just waste that time that you were just sitting there and you did something good, and it actually is going to give you back for the rest of the day. It's going to boost your energy. I'm going to think about my posture. I'm just going to feel a little bit more lighter, a little bit more brighter, and have some energy that maybe would otherwise not be there.
I couldn't agree more. It's fantastic advice for people. We might have to zoom out because this might not be book related, but just you mentioned there about being a mum and being a business owner, and we will have
Yes.
our circle conversation, which will go more entrepreneur specific. But out of curiosity, having achieved all that you've achieved and the difficulty, I've got my daughter at home. She's 10. She's amazing.
Aw,
She's just
what's her name?
Holly.
Holly.
She's just
Aw,
she's the best. So very
I
similar
love
to you.
that.
Gymnastics is her base, so we'd be
Oh, I
doing
love
planks and things when
that.
we're watching TV. So
Yes,
it's good
yes.
too. But if you could go back several years, what's something that you wish you had known about balancing being a mum and a business owner that you know now but didn't know when you started off?
Oh, it's funny. If you go to my Instagram, Brian, today, I just posted something with the former CEO of Pepsi that was like, balance is BS. And I think I would have told myself to give myself a little more grace and allow myself to invite the imperfections, and the balance is not going to be showing up most days. I think there's different seasons. There's seasons where you're going to be really all in as a mother, and there's seasons where you're going to be all in more as a business owner, and then there's days where you're going to be switching those roles. And so I have used the term zoom out quite a bit. You'll hear me say that in a lot of interviews I do, because I live that way. I live that way with nutrition. I live that way with wellness. I live that way with friendships and relationships and business and parenting. I zoom out. Am I doing a pretty good job? Like, what does the scale look like today? And some days I have to readjust. Some days I have to have an honest dialogue with myself and an honest conversation and say, you know what? I think you need to level up here, because if you're zooming out, you're kind of missing the mark in this area of your life, and you need to give a little more effort. And then other days you zoom out and you say, okay, yeah, today might have been a hard day, or I didn't hit what I needed to hit in terms of goals, or I didn't get to where I needed to get to, but I did pretty good this week. Like, this week's been a good week, you know? And I do the same thing like with nutrition. For me, it's like zoom out. Did I do pretty good with my eating this week? Most weeks, yes. But maybe next week when I'm in New York City and I'm doing a million other things, it might not be my top performing moment. And that's okay, because if I zoom out, I'm doing pretty good. So yes, that's a strategy I wish I would have adopted a while ago, but now is my mantra.
I love that. It's like that airplane view, 25,000 feet, just looking
Yes.
down your life and having a non-emotional attachment to what's actually going on and
Yeah.
not beating yourself up. And again, I'll never know the extreme of mom guilt, but mom guilt is a legit thing. That is something I see with clients. It's something I see over and over again. And being able to take your foot off the pedal in one area because something else is a current priority, but just not letting it spill out of control for too long, I think is the real secret sauce.
That's a great one. Yeah, I like that.
I will come back on nutrition because I was reading an article. I don't think it was a Vogue article, but it was with the Victoria's Secrets models, and you were talking about nutrition and calories, etc. So I'll park that and come back. But I'm very curious from a personal perspective. What's your filter for saying yes? You have a lot of opportunities, Andrea, and again, we know as entrepreneurs that there's a superpower in saying no, but sometimes it's not as easy as that. I prefer to ask, what's the filter for saying yes? So, do you have a filter for the opportunities to present themselves that you say yes to, and what does that look like if so?
No one's ever asked me that before, and I don't know if I've ever put on that lens to ask myself that, but I will tell you that I have always lived my life with a very strong moral compass and a very strong inner direction, like knowing what works for me and what doesn't work for me, and listening to my gut. And I'm not afraid to listen to my gut. Now, I haven't always been good at saying no. Like in the past, if someone asked me, hey, can you host a Zoom class for my friend's birthday party? I'd be like, oh, I don't want to disappoint her. So yeah, okay. But now I'm at a point in my life where I'm like, your friend is not a priority in my life. And this is going to take far more energy, and it's going to deplete me, and I don't need to be giving my energy towards that person, and I can't feel guilty about that. I used to always want to do everything for everyone, and I would be very worried about what their opinion was of me if I said no. And now I've gotten to a point where I can trust my inner gut and know that I'm always trying to do the right thing, and sometimes the right thing is to say no. And so when I do say yes, it's got to feel like morally, ethically, it's got to be aligned no matter what it is. Like, it has to be morally and ethically aligned to who I am. And I always am looking to see how the energy that I'm putting out in the world is it making a positive impact? Is the time that I'm spending on this going to fulfill me or someone else in a positive way? And that's kind of my base, I guess. But yeah, that was a great question.
I'm glad I'm so glad I asked it. Again, it's so important for people to have the power of saying no, understanding what your priorities are, because that gives you the filter for potentially saying yes, like you said, and then running it through a lens. I put everything through, will this nourish or deplete me? And then that's the first step towards the next question with, is this opportunity something I need to take or something that I need to pass on? You mentioned protecting your energy there. Outside of the, and again, I'm sure the 7 practices which we'll run through as we go through are all part of it with stretching and movement we mentioned earlier. But do you have anything that you turn to day that helps you protect your energy, or is it a case of avoiding things that drain your energy, or what does your process look like for that?
I mean, without sounding too cheesy or too contrived, the book, the seven, this is what I do to control this is why I wrote the book. This is my foundation. It's my grounding. These 7 practices are my anchors. And without them, I feel unstable. Like these are my stabilizers.
Anyone you come to more often than not,
Yes.
compared to others?
Well, we talked a little bit about movement right now, so that's one of the chapters. Just press play, and it digs into the power and science behind moving your body, and just how 10 minutes a day can really make a huge difference. So that's one of them. And the second one that I would always lean into, because it's just a part of, I mean, it's something we all do every single day, but not with intention, which is breath work. And I'm a big believer on the power of breath and intentional breath, and how you can really harness your breath in order to help combat anxiety and fears and worries and bring yourself into a stronger mindset, calm, control. And I have used this in some of the hardest times of my life when I was in moments of crises, and I use it on an everyday basis when I'm driving in the car to go pick up my kids in carpool line. Like it is a tool that is at our disposal. You don't need an app. You don't need to buy anything. You don't need any props. Like all you need is just to learn a few minutes. You can read the book or go online and see some breath work and see what resonates to you. And you just start to do it. And before you know it, you're doing it and you don't even realize it. Like I'll be doing something during the day, and it's like my body tells my breath to start going. And I start to really focus on strong breath work, stimulating my vagus nerve, getting out of fight or flight, relaxing, getting myself into a place of calm. And I do it every single morning when I wake up without fail. I take just a few moments to focus on my breath, and every night before I go to bed without fail.
I love that, and I agree completely. Putting yourself into that parasympathetic state of just whether it's vagus nerve breathing or another breathing technique or anything that's going to help regulate your nervous system is one of the most underrated tools for stress management that there is.
Underrated tool. So Brian, we always use this analogy. If somebody gave you a pill and they were like, this pill is going to help you feel better. It's going to regulate your nervous system. You're going to feel more joyful. You're going to have more energy. And guess what? It has no side effects. It's all natural. All you have to do is just take this pill, and within a minute, you're going to feel so much better. You'd be like, give me the bottle. I'll take them. But if I said to you, well, now you have to sit there and I want you to concentrate on your inhale. I want you to count to 4. I want you to hold the 4. I want you to exhale for 8. And I want you to repeat that 4 times. You'd be like, breath schmesh. Like, I don't know about that. You know what I mean? Like, we're so quick to just find a fix. And this is a fix, guys. This is a fix. So try it. Do not poo-poo it until you've tried it. Like, give it a real go. Give it a couple of weeks and do it every single day. And I want you to see how you feel. I want you to feel the power that you have within your body.
Again, as you mentioned, it's free. You don't need an app. You don't need to buy anything. Right. It's there. But again, interestingly, it's only in the last probably 4 or 5 years I got into breath work in a deeper level, meditation alongside that, because similar to what you mentioned there, I went to that default. So for those that are listening, I'm not going to jump down your throats too much, because that was me. I was like, oh no, I don't need the breath work. I'll just go to the gym again, or I'll go do something else more extreme. And sometimes the extreme is exactly not what you need to do. You need
because you're trying to get out of it. You're trying to fight the natural thing in your body.
100%. And what's that interesting is working out and fitness teaches you to breathe anyway. And yet sometimes we do the domain dependent, that I need to work out to get my breath regulated, although you don't even realize you're doing it, when in reality you can do that at any moment. And again,
any moment.
A lot of people listening now just having that aha moment going, yes, learning to breathe. I want to
I love that. I love that story for you. I think that's fantastic. Same with me. I was the same kind of way. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's, again, it's funny because we use language that's like, it was old versions of us language that comes out, and you can tell. But again, learn from our mistakes for everybody that's listening. Nutrition. I want to pull this back because exercise, sleep, stress management, breath work, nutrition. But one of the sexiest topics, as you know, people tend to perk up ears when they hear nutrition. And one of the lines I heard, which I know was very headline grabby, and a headline's not an article, was not counting calories. I don't count calories. It was in the article with the Victoria's Secret model. And I'm not going to go down that because nutrition is so nuanced. And one of the things I try and work through in this podcast is not having a black and white in a topic that's very, very gray. From your personal experience, Andrea, what type of nutrition do you tend to follow, or what tends to work best for your body?
Yes. So I grew up as a dancer, and moved my body from, physically every single day for most of my life, right? And nutrition was a very big part of being able to have the energy to perform and to do the things I had to do, dancing, 5 days a week, competition, doing all the things. And I think I share the story in the book. I did about, I remember being at a dance competition, was very young, and we all sat down and we were, eating, and I had a Coca-Cola, and I remember drinking it like fast, and I drank it. And then I'm like, bye, mom. And we ran off and went to go do our convention. Now, dance conventions are like an all day thing. You start at 8, you dance all day, you have a break for lunch, and you go and learn and take lessons all day, the rest of the day. And then you go back and then you do competition at night. Like, it's a whole full day. And looking back, I'm like, oh my God, it's exhausting. I remember drinking that pop. And I remember then, like, I don't know how, like, half an hour later, I was like, oof, oof. I was feeling sluggish, was starting to feel the effects from the sugar and starting to feel the effects from whatever else is in there, right? I'm not going to get into details, but I just felt that, oh boy, that doesn't feel good. I don't feel very nourished. And so I had a life lesson very quickly on. I remember the name of the competition. I remember where I was, and I remember feeling like, I feel like crap. This is not good. And it was just a moment where I'm like, I'm not going to do that again. Okay. So I've been a big believer, and because I've moved my body and I'm naturally very petite, like my mother is tiny, I am tiny. I'm built this way. I'm barely 5 feet tall. So I haven't had to concentrate on weight loss in my life, but I have had to concentrate on feeling in my life, energy in my life. And I've been very big on how is my body responding to what I just ate from the time I was in my teens, and all the way through. And that's what I continue to do. I call it the after effect. Like, how do you feel after you eat that thing? And so that has been my guiding light. How do I feel after I eat that food? And it might be something healthy and nutritious too. And it doesn't work well with my body, right? So I'm very cognizant of how I respond to different foods. And also, Brian, I am very repetitive in my diet. So, like, I have almost the same breakfast every single day. Like, I've got my eggs and my sausage, and that is what I do. I just had it right before this call between my podcasts. I just have a go-to breakfast. I have a pretty much go-to lunch, and I circulate between a few different dinners on rotation. But I'm not afraid of repetition in my diet. I'm not afraid of it, and it also served me very well because I know that when I go outside of that, and I have flexibility, I'm on the go, I eat different things, but I know what works for me, and I try to stay within those guardrails because I know how my body responds. And so regardless of what your goals are, whether you are in a weight loss and calorie deficit, or whether you're just trying to feel better and have more energy, or just understand how your body responds to things, take note, like, be conscious of how you feel, 30 minutes, an hour after you eat that meal. Did it deplete you? Just like we were talking about other ways, like, does it give you energy or does it take it away? Same type of thing. So just being aware and having that awareness. And then also another thing that I talk about and touch on in the book, and it's a philosophy of mine, the first meal of the day, I put my phone away. Like, I will not be on my phone. And let me tell you, it's not always easy. Like, that first meal of the day is when I'm most busy. It's when I've got a million things to do and I want to be checking my email when I'm putting a bite in. I want to be at least scrolling or doing something. And instead, I allow myself to sit. It's better for our digestion, which I hit on in the book, but it's also just better for my mindset. I let my mind wander. I let myself be a little bored, and I sit down and I eat my meal and I give it some thought. And so that has been a very strong tool for me, and I hope it's helpful for people at home to try and see how uncomfortable are you going to be when you're by yourself eating your first meal and you don't have your phone in your hand.
I have a follow-on question directly from that because I do something very similar because I get creative periods normally in the morning and normally in the evening. It's very interesting as if the
I'm the same.
downloads are coming. Yeah. And then windows during the day when there's nothing. You're just living life as normal.
That's it.
Out of curiosity, and this is the entrepreneur in me, and I know there's entrepreneurs listening, but I think every person, even if you're working a regular 9 to 5, can benefit from this because we all want to follow kind of areas of curiosity when it comes to inspiration,
Hmm.
creativity. Do you build in time or gray space for that creativity, such as
Hmm.
the not having the phone in the morning, or when these ideas are coming to you, are they just coming randomly? And if so, how are you capturing them? Because you've done multiple businesses, written the book, social media, workouts, working with different celebrities over the years, doing so many, like I'm not even joking when I talked about the introduction. I could have filled a 40-minute podcast with just the accolades of what you've achieved over the years, which is incredible. But I'm
Thank you.
always interested into how do you condense and follow on when those creative ideas come? And is there any process for it, or is it just random?
That's another great question I've never been asked before. So I remember reading an article years ago, very early on in my entrepreneurial career. And it was an article written about Lin-Manuel Miranda, who is the creative genius behind Hamilton. And in the article, it basically alluded to the fact that he credited his boredom as a child to, to fueling his creativity. And I loved that. And I thought about that. And I think it's very important because when I look back at the times that I've been my most creative and when all these things happen and I start to build, whether it's creating a manual for Extend Bar or new exercises for a PR program or writing the book or building a business, it's not when I am scrolling on my phone. It is not when I'm watching TV. It is not even when I'm jamming out to music and dancing, which is something I love to do to release my stress. And that's a beautiful self-care tool that I have. But it's not during those times. It's when I'm quiet. So I'm very intentional now with my quiet time. And that typically is that first meal of the day when I sit down. I allow myself to not only enjoy the food and feel the sensation of the food and be satisfied with it, but I also am like thinking. I'm thinking and I'm letting my mind just wander. When I go on walks with my dog, I try now not to have my phone, not to put in the earbuds, not to listen to the podcast. There are times that I do, but most of the time when I'm really wanting to get that, the creative juices flowing, that's what I do. And then I come back and I write it down. Same thing after breakfast, making sure that I'm not writing as I'm eating, but I'm there thinking and then I set down. And then in the evening, I'm just like you, mornings and evenings. I mean, if there was a magic device that I could create, okay, a magic device is right when I'm about to fall asleep. I feel like I'm like a wizard. I'm like a genius in that moment. I mean, my head is like I could like stand up and deliver a TED talk for the centuries, like I get so creative and I'm like, "Oh, that sounded so good. Oh, that sounded good." And then you get up and you're like, "Wait, what did I say?" I wish I could capture that moment of like falling. There has to be some science behind it of why your brain is like calm and falling into the to the state of sleep,
Transient
right?
hyperfrontality, it's called.
There you go.
It's when your part of your brain is switching off and it allows the creative part. It's Einstein talked about it a lot in the research what he did about
Don't you
transient
wish there was a
hyperfrontality.
tool that could
Yeah.
like capture those thoughts? Anyway, so I will keep a notepad next to my bed and just jot down some things so that I don't forget those amazing genius ideas. But I think the message here is I give myself time. I'm not turning the music on in the car as much anymore. Like I let myself just drive and think. Yeah, pausing. We don't do that anymore.
No, we don't. And it's something that I've had to actively build in
Same.
because by default in life, it's not what happens. We have distractions everywhere, particularly with the phone. You've got a distraction device in your pocket within arm's reach at all times. And I'm even very mindful with my daughter of like minimizing her screen time because
Absolutely.
that boredom, like you mentioned earlier, I heard that story too, that crediting the boredom to the creativity is again something that we can neglect or forget about in modern age when
Yes.
this is success leaving clues of multiple people having multiple success stories from times past when they were bored.
I love that. And when is the last time that you sat somewhere, like at a doctor's office or you waited in line and you didn't reach for your phone? Like, when is the last time that a commercial came on and you didn't immediately reach for your phone to satisfy you between a show? Like, think about that the next time you reach for your phone. Like, what are you doing? Why? Why are you reaching for it? Because we cannot just let ourselves just sit and be anymore. So there is power behind that. And see what happens after 2 weeks of not touching your phone. Just
Yeah,
give it a couple weeks.
yeah, we've got that rule in the house where you can't have a second screen. It's because
I
people are on the
love
second screen.
that.
No second screen. Whatever screen you're on, if you're on it, you're on one screen. No second screen because
No,
that's
I'm going to share that, Brian. I love that no second screen. I do the same thing, but I've never called it no second screen. I'm like, put your phones away. We're watching TV. Yeah,
Mm.
that's smart. I
Yeah,
love that.
the most 2025 problem if ever.
I mean, isn't that ridiculous? No second screen.
Oh, but we are where we are.
We got to do what we can do, right? You got to find the wins where you can find them.
100%. We've talked on nutrition, we've talked on training, we've talked on some of the mindset tools, and I do want to unpack more on the mindset because the book goes through a lot. Do the thing, which I loved. I think that there's a lot in there. Can we unpack do the thing, and then we'll transition that into a couple of areas it focuses on mindset that I think would be very beneficial for people.
You bet. So Do the Thing was born in 2019. I just moved to New York City. I was going through a challenging time, a separation and divorce, and I decided I'm gonna move to New York City with my 2 daughters and be a single mom in New York City. That sounds like fun. And, I just followed my gut, honestly, and it was the right move, but at the time, it was very overwhelming. I was struggling in the business, things were not going well internationally. I was struggling in my personal life, I was struggling financially, like, everything was feeling like it was imploding, and I made this big, huge move, and the ground underneath me felt very shaky. And I remember standing in the apartment, my first apartment in New York, which was tiny, tiny, my tiny little apartment with my 2 daughters, and boxes were everywhere. And I had this to-do list, and I'm like, "Oh, God, I gotta do this." And then I added to it. And I was like, "This is ridiculous. This list is like killing me." It's like, it's like it's a list of anxieties instead of a list of accomplishments. And so I'm like, I'm done. I'm just gonna shift things. I'm gonna focus on 3 things today, just 3 things. I'm gonna do these 3 things. There's gonna be no excuses. They're non-negotiable. And instead of just writing down the first thing that came to mind or the first thing that like I felt like I needed to do, I'm just gonna give it a couple of minutes to think about what those 3 things are today. Like if I only have those 3 things to get done today, what are the things that I'm going to do that are actually going to make me feel a sense of accomplishment at the end of the day? Because I felt like every night I was going to bed going, "Oh, I should have done this. Why did I spend my time going to the post office when I had this to do?" And like I wasn't prioritized. I wasn't being very clear with my priorities. I was just adding more things to them, and everything was a priority. And so I just got clear with my priorities, and I got clear with fewer priorities. And I did the 3 things. And then at night I was like, "Oh, that feels good. That feels good. I feel like I've moved the needle a little bit, move the needle." Working towards those goals. And every day I did that, I just felt more and more in control of my days, more in control of my future, more in control of my life. And it just became a way of living. And then on the days where I'm winning, like I'm like, "Oh, 3 things done, like crushing it, got it, went faster than I thought." I add 2 more bonus moves underneath. And then I always like to add a signature move, which is just for me. Maybe it's going for my walk. Maybe it is doing a stretch series. Maybe it is turning on a show because I haven't watched TV in a long time because I'm always doing stuff. It's just a moment of just me time. And that's been my do the thing strategy. And it has helped me to accomplish a lot and get a lot done in the day. And it doesn't mean that I'm saying no to everything else. It doesn't mean that I'm not folding my laundry. It doesn't mean it's just that I'm getting very clear on my priorities. And those things, those 3 things are the priorities. Those are the things that are going to give me that sense of accomplishment and pride. And that pride is the result, and that leads to motivation, right? Which leads to you doing more of the thing. So it's this whole cycle. I don't wake up like with super motivation every day. I wake up with dedication and diligence and determination, and I'm just going to do it because I know that's what I do every day. I write the 3 things down, and I do the 3 things I write down every day, non-negotiable.
I'm very excited for our circle conversation because they're all entrepreneurs that are listening. And one of the things I've said multiple times with the ones I've worked with is have your 1 thing or 3 things in this case that are the priority list, normally creative tasks that you're creating something from nothing, because all the reactive stuff and the to-do list will get done. It's just the nature of the beast. Like we all do that.
That's it.
Yeah, I want to pull it back, Andrea, and feel free to take a pass on this one because 2019
Yep.
sounded like a very difficult year from
Hmm.
going through everything that you were through. What was your anchor, or what is your anchor during difficult times? And that might have evolved and changed. I know the girls, the same as Polly, my daughter, your anchors change as life goes on.
They
But
do.
when things are difficult, and during that period of time, was a lot of upheaval, you're moving, divorce, personal life, businesses abroad, it can feel very overwhelming and stressful. What was your anchor during that time? Because there's people listening now who will read the book, will apply the daily practices, will get all the benefits. And then there's going to be a subsection of people who are just going through a difficult time right now. And for whatever reason, they don't have the capacity to do all of them. In that case, I recommend, pick one, whether it's the
You bet.
stretching, whether it's doing the thing,
You
whether it's
bet.
the breath work, etc. But during that period, or if you want to choose a different period when time was difficult or life was difficult, what's your anchor, or what are the things that you focus on to not get bogged down and pulled under when stress, overwhelm, or just life starts to feel like it's too much?
So remember earlier when I was talking about the after effect in terms of nutrition and movement and how I felt after? So when I have these periods and I had these periods in my life where things aren't going the way I wanted them to go, They're settling in a spot I didn't think we were gonna settle. And I'm like, "How did I get here? Like, I did all the things that were right. How am I here?" I do 2 things. I allow myself to feel, but I don't let it sink into my soul. Okay? So, I allow my it gets skin, like, surface, right? It's like I don't let it go too deep. Like, I let it feel. I don't ignore it. I even acknowledge it. This is hard. This sucks right now. This is not where I wanted to be. Maybe it's from the actions I've taken, maybe it's from actions I had no, play in, but I'm here and I'm gonna feel it. But then the second part, part 2, first part, don't let it sink into your soul. Second part is, I thought about the after Andrea, okay? So, who who am I gonna be in a year from now? Who am not who do I want to be, who am I going to be? Because I am going there. Who is that girl? That girl's wildly successful. That girl has written a book. That girl is standing on stages. That girl is having podcasts and conversations like that. And I visualize it and I think about it. And this is one of the strategies in my book, which you guys can hopefully read about. But I think about that girl. That is the after girl. And what does she have to do right now to get there? Because we're very far apart at the moment. And it feels nearly impossible to get even one step closer to that girl, but I'm gonna take one step closer to being that girl. So what is the next right thing for me to do right now? It might be, actually go do a workout because your mindset's shitty right now and you need to get out
Mm.
of this funk. Or it might be something like, enough of the excuses, sit down, make that phone call to your mentor and start to put together a direction or strategy for the next move of your business. Whatever that is, it's very different for each of us. But I think about the after effects so many times in my life. Am I going to feel good after I eat that meal? Am I going to feel good after I skip that workout? Am I going to feel good if I just sit here and woe is me all day? And no, like I think about who I am after and how it feels. And then I need to move in that direction to feel the way I want to feel after.
Oh, I'm going to take that. Even that language is beautiful. The after me and how you're going to feel that forward projection of thinking about your future self and where you want to be and what it is you need to do. The acronym I've used is how can I win? WIN. What's important now? What's the thing I need to
Mm,
do now in this moment to help me win?
I
Again,
like that.
it doubles over and it's a North Star for me regularly, particularly when life feels difficult. On
I
a
like that a lot. That's great.
Yeah, it works. Again, one of my personal anchors. You mentioned there about not letting it sink into your soul. What do you let sink into your soul?
Mm. I have a mindset, it's gonna sound cheesy, but I try to wear extraordinary, ordinary glasses every day of my life. So, and my girls probably are gonna roll their eyes if they can hear, because I'm always talking about this. It's acknowledging the good in the light in your life that is otherwise from taken for granted, like the little things. I remember being a little girl laying in my hammock in my backyard and I remember swaying back and forth and looking up at the birch tree and just looking at the leaves and how the contrast of the leaves from the blue sky and how they swayed. And I just remember thinking, God, that's just so beautiful. Just like how beautiful is that? And I've always kind of been wired that way to acknowledge the little things around me and just take note. And it doesn't mean that I'm like, oh my God, everything's perfect, everything's great, nothing's wrong. Cause, it's just moments where I'm like, I just stood up and I have a healthy physical body and mind and I've got a roof over my head and all those little things that we think about. But I try to wear those glasses. And if I feel myself like I've taken off those glasses for too long, I'm like, time to put them back on and start seeing things in a different way. So that has been kind of something that has anchored me and helped direct my like that feeds my soul. And obviously my girls, like my daughters, like, writing this book was a personal goal of mine, and I dedicated the book to them, and I didn't tell them I dedicated the book to them, but I waited to open the box to see the book for the first time with my daughters, and my older daughter opened the book and immediately read the dedication, and she started crying, and then my younger daughter did, and then we all held each other and cried for a moment, and I was like, "That's it. That's all there is to it. I don't care what else? I don't care. I mean, I hope this book is really successful. I hope it's a bestseller, but my God, that was everything, right? Like that fed my soul. And that was like that pride that they had and have right now. That's everything.
That's such a beautiful. I'm so happy to hear that story. It's even warm in my heart. Like I've that connected directly, Andrea. I love that. I just have one final question and then we'll move on to our circle conversation, which will be very kind of business driven. But I'm going to link out the book for people to pick up. There's so much in here. And again, what I love about what you do, this is the same with your messages online, it's doable. Which again
Has to be.
sounds, it has to be. And some of the books that I've read over the years and gone through over the years, they've been great, but impractical would be a good word to use. Just doesn't fit my life. I can't apply this. With small moves, big life, it's things you can do. And sometimes going from that 0 to 1 and compounding these small things is actually the winning formula. Whereas we think and do that we need to do the big things and we end up doing nothing as a result. So I'm going to link the book in the description. I'm also going to link out the website. I'm going to link out the social media channels. Is Instagram the best place for people to follow who want to connect with you? And then we'll
Yes.
get on to the final question. So Instagram, I'll put that
Yes.
out. People follow Instagram off the back of this.
Thank you.
Also, there's going to be a family member or friend that you're thinking about that needs this podcast. Please screenshot it, send it to them on WhatsApp, pop it up on your Instagram stories, get it out there for people because, again, ultimately, this is what it's all about. Andrea, I want to ask, and I think it ties in perfectly, segueing as the last question, with the impact that you're having on your daughter's lives, if you could only leave one thing for them that was non-monetary advice, a mantra, an affirmation, a message, and it was the only thing that you could leave behind to your two girls,
Mm.
what would you leave them or what would you say?
Yeah, wow, that's a powerful one. I feel like that piggybacks onto what I was just talking about, which is the extraordinary ordinary. Because to me, I feel like our lives are only going to get busier. And our daughters, I mean, we see, I don't know if you're dealing with the same thing I am, but watching the level of expectation they have on themselves and others have put on them already at such a young age, 10, 12, 14 years old. Today, I had that experience with my daughter, and I said to her, "You got a lot on your plate, and I get it." And I I was upset because her room was a mess this morning, and I stopped, and instead of continuing to lecture her, I just came over and gave her a hug. And I was like, "You got a lot. You got a lot on your plate. I'm just gonna ask you tomorrow night, just take a few moments to clean up your room before you go to bed so you don't have to worry about the mess in the morning." But my point being is, like, they have a lot on their plate and they're trying to be all and do all, and they have a whole level of social media where there's this comparison and they have challenges that we did not have growing up, okay? And so I just want them to have a strong foundation, an understanding of what really matters in life. And their opinion of themselves is what really matters in life. And when I put my head on the pillow at night, am I proud of who I am? Am I proud of the choices that I made, right? And are they seeing the extraordinary or ordinary in the life? Are they seeing the extraordinary or ordinary in themselves, right? Don't compare yourself to the girl that looks like this and is doing all this because that is a different level, right? And what is extraordinary or ordinary in you, right? And trying to see that. And I always say this. I'm like, I want you to be kind. I want you to be courageous and I want you to be confident, right? So those kind, courageous, and confident in life.
What a wonderful way to finish, Andrea. That again, as somebody with a 10-year-old, kindness is something I try and put in, and the confidence. I've always said that my goal is that to raise a daughter who is perfectly fine when I'm gone, confident, kind, loving individual, but fucking misses me like crazy. Like,
Exactly.
eh,
Oh, I love that. You're going to, because I can tell you're the kind of human being that's going to raise a daughter like that. And if there was more of you and more of this mindset, I feel like the world would be a much better place. But
no,
that's all we can do is we can just leave that legacy with our girls and let them pass it on.
100%. Andrea, thank you so much again. For everybody listening, check out the book, check out the Instagram, the website, and everything else will be linked below. Keep spreading your incredible message. Keep doing what you're doing. You're such an inspirational individual, and I'm so glad we got to have this conversation. So thank you
I
so
am
much again.
too. Thank you so much.
That was Andrea Lee Rogers on movement snacks, practical tips for daily activity, balancing motherhood and entrepreneurship, and using nutrition to listen to your body's needs. If you enjoyed this, I loved this conversation personally. I would talk entrepreneurship and business all day. We did do a follow-on premium episode for The Circle, which is a sponsor of today's podcast. It's my online group mastermind, my group business coaching. The link will be in the description below. If you're an online coach, personal trainer, you're in a gym, you're in the health or wellness space, and you're looking to connect with like-minded people, we have weekly trainings in there. We have, actually there's loads in The Circle. I'll just put the link in the description below so you can see it. That's everything from me from today's podcast. Thanks so much for listening. Catch you next Monday.